If your team needs an edge rusher going into this draft, you're in luck, as this edge rushing class is full of first and second round talents along with a lot of depth, and today I will show you. I'm Chase Keller, and welcome to Chase Keller Journalism. Hi guys, I'm Chase Keller, and today I'll be giving you guys my top 10 edge rushers in the 2023 NFL Draft, comparing them to the opinions of other popular draft critics. This positional group, in my opinion, has the most upside out of any position in the entire 2023 draft class. I will be giving my reasoning on the placement of each draft prospect, as well as giving you guys a visual presentation of their film to show you guys how good these guys are. If you guys want more of these scouting reports, please subscribe to the channel and check out the links in my bio for my more extensive coverage. Without further ado, here are my 10 favorite edge rushers in this draft class. Starting off the list with my 10th favorite prospect, which is Tuli Tuipulotu, a 4'3" defensive end from the University of Southern California. The power rusher began as a 3-star recruit from Lawndale, California, which is less than an hour away from USC. He made an impact early for the Trojans, recording 22 tackles and 2 sacks as a freshman in a 6-game season. He continued to evolve as his sophomore year. He recorded 5 sacks with 48 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 pass deflections, and in his junior season, he led all of FBS in sacks with 13.5, along with 2 forced fumbles, 46 tackles, and 17 of those for loss. Staying for another season wasn't useful for Tuli, as he declared earlier this month. As an NFL prospect, Tuli stands in a solid position, but he is definitely built more for college than he is for the NFL. As previously mentioned, Tuli is a powerful rusher who can play anywhere on the defensive line, but he's more than likely going to be used as a 4'3" defensive end. Tuli's athleticism also took a leap in his junior season, but nonetheless, the way he utilizes his 6'4", 280-pound frame is not too fit for the NFL, as any elusive offensive tackle will have him on lock. Yet, we've seen power rushers succeed in the NFL, while more on the interior, but even guys like Myles Garrett and Cameron Jordan have utilized their pure strength to have great careers. Tuli's versatility across the line, almost mirroring a J.J. Watt kind of versatility, will make him sought out for teams needy on the line, and I could see him fitting into a team like the Chicago Bears or the Cleveland Browns and making an immediate impact. My prospect grade for Tuli is a B, making him a mid to late second-round talent. A guy who blatantly reminds me of Gregory Rousseau as a prospect, polar opposite of Tuli. At my 9th position, I have Andre Carter from Army West Point. Props to Carter for appealing himself to NFL scouts, as college scouts refuse to look his way due to his frame, ignoring his athleticism and versatility to play both offense and defense. An unranked recruit out of high school, Carter joined the Army football team. Originally, he saw minimal playing time, but in his junior year, he broke out to have 15.5 sacks. One downside to his game, though, was his senior season drop in production, only showing with 3 sacks in 9 games. Yet, Carter is such a highly touted prospect because of his raw ability and athleticism. Rousseau is having a great sophomore season and has developed into his role as a pass rusher, and while even though a scheme like Buffalo's is great to develop in, I think Carter could do the same in any scheme. Carter also has great size to be an elusive pass rusher, just like Rousseau was, having a lot of growth sets for a very high ceiling, but also a very low floor. Teams should not expect Carter to have a great first season, maybe even second and third seasons, or he could never be good, primarily because of his quantity of defensive skills that Carter needs to work into. As a pass rusher, Carter loves to stick to 1 or 2 elusive moves off the edge, making him easily readable to opposing tackles. Carter also lacks pure strength, which makes it easier for opposing offenses to assign mismatches on the line. Overall, what is holding him back from being an elite prospect is the exponential yet achievable amount of experience and adaptation needed for him to be a great pass rusher. At number 8, I have Felix Anudike Uzama, a pass rusher out of Kansas State. Anudike was a low-end 3-star recruit, but he sped off to Kansas State after receiving an offer from them, easily his best Decision I offer. While at K-State, he made an impact early enough to see 523 snaps as a sophomore, recording a fantastic 11 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and 15 tackles for loss. Statistically, his junior season was a drop, but he continued to pressure the opposing quarterback at alarming rates. As a prospect, Anudike is a little raw, but he does have great athleticism for his 6'3", 250 frame. He could play at any position on the defensive line in college, but in the NFL, he will likely only see action at 4-3 defensive end position due to his inability to stop the run at times. Nonetheless, his ability as a pass rusher continue on as he holds the traits to give him the two key types of pass rushing, being an elusive pass rusher and a power rusher. He is also very explosive off the line, but lacks explosiveness post first step. He also showcased a good tendency to dip down and speed past high blocking linemen. As I previously mentioned though, he will likely only be used as a pass rusher, which will lower his stock immensely, and he may even fall to the 3rd or 4th round. His inability to stop the run at some points is inexcusable. His explosiveness does become a weakness in this aspect, surprisingly, as he sometimes creates gaps for opposing runners instead of the edge blocker creating it. Despite these weaknesses, Anyudike is still a high upside, raw pass rusher that should be sought out by teams badly needing someone off the edge. My prospect grade for Anyudike is a B+, giving him a low to mid 2nd round grade. Coming in at number 7 is Georgia pass rusher Nolan Smith. In Smith's 4 years at Georgia, he never put up an elite season unlike a lot of these other guys, but his unlocked potential is what makes him a high prospect. A former number 1 prospect out of high school, Smith has tallied 110 tackles, 12.5 sacks, and 20 tackles for loss. Smith is less of a get-to-the-quarterback guy and more of a smart and disruptive defender off the edge. Smith is an elusive dual-threat rusher who can make any lineman's day a nightmare, but as statistics show, he doesn't always translate his elusiveness into production. He does require a lot of blocking attention, though, as any team looking for a pass rusher who can evenly disrupt both the pass and the run, while also giving other rushers opportunities through priorities, should take a look at Smith. His best trait is his great leadership, as even though in a junior role surrounded by highly scouted NFL talent defenders, he continued to be a spark in Georgia's confidence, as said by his own teammates. Smith is also a bit raw, just like the previous 2 prospects mentioned. A lot of edge prospects out of college struggle to use their hands and arms to weave around edge blockers, and that's one thing that Smith especially struggles with. Despite that, teams should not disregard his capabilities. Also, leadership does not always translate to production in the NFL, yet a leader is great to have, making me a little torn on Smith as a prospect. This boomer bust prospect will get an A- grade for me, and his round talent is late 1st to early 2nd, but he may get drafted earlier than that. Coming in at number 6 is LSU edge defender B.J. Ojulari, a very productive pass rusher who has been an impact defender since day one. Out of high school, Ojulari was a high-end 4-star recruit, and choosing LSU was a great decision for him, as the playing time along with the developmental opportunities has raised his stock. While at LSU, he has accounted for 16.5 sacks in 3 seasons, piecing together 25.5 tackles for loss and a couple forced fumbles and pass breakups. Another cool thing to note is that BJ is the younger brother of Aziz, a productive edge for the New York Giants. As a prospect, Ojulari is extremely athletic and oddly plays much different from his brother, as he relies on his pure athleticism over his strength and toughness. Ojulari is a start-to-finish kind of guy as well, as he explodes on his first step and never gives less effort at any second during the play. He is also extremely disruptive, putting up 50 pressures on opposing quarterbacks in his junior season. Ojulari also puts forward a complete pass-rushing prospect while still having a lot of potential around the edge. Something that concerns me about Ojulari, though, is his size, and even though his brother remains productive in the NFL while being the same size as BJ, Ojulari does not have as much pure skill as his brother brought to scouts. Personally, I believe Aziz should have been drafted higher than the mid-second round, and his brother should still be scouted around the same position even with a different skill set. My prospect grade for Ojulari is an A-, giving him a low first-round pick talent grade. At number 5, I have a little bit of a shocker as Auburn pass rusher Derek Hall falls here. Hall was very productive and disruptive in many ways in his 4 seasons at Auburn. Altogether, he put up 19.5 sacks, 29.5 tackles for loss, and 146 total tackles, which is great for an SEC rusher. I'm surprised that Hall is low on some draft boards, as he fits the role of an NFL versatile defender. He is a dual threat to opposing teams, as he can use his toughness and pure strength to bully interior linemen in the run, while also using explosiveness and aggression off the edge to be disruptive in the pass. He is a little bit raw, but not nearly as much as some of the previously stated prospects. He can also ball hawk, showing it in the pass, run, and even in coverage. RPOs and design plays rarely phase him throughout his progressions as a rusher, showing he never gets too focused on his own game. Despite the strength, Hall's speed and quickness does sometimes lead to a loss of balance, and on worst occasion, he loses his thinking and process in his pass rush, making him a non-factor in those situations. Because of these situations, Hall is inconsistent in the pass rush. Ignoring that, though, Hall is a nice prospect that should be treated as a great edge defender. My prospect grade for Hall is also an A-, and I will give him a mid to late first-round talent. At number 4 out of Texas Tech, I have a fantastic edge rusher in Tyree Wilson. At Tech, Wilson has put up 2 straight seasons of over 7 sacks and 13 tackles for loss, which may not seem like much, but once you pay attention to the film, you will understand that his game does not transfer to appealing statistics, but instead to disruption. As a prospect, Wilson reminds me a lot of J.J. Watt, a player who can play anywhere on the line and be just as disruptive at any point. Even though his pass rushing and edge rushing skills are elite, there is no denying his run capabilities as well, putting up 24 stops in his senior season. As an edge rusher, he has fantastic size and strength to bully opposing offensive tackles. His size is the primary reason that he is so disruptive. One issue does clog him as a prospect though, and that is his athleticism. Don't get me wrong, he is a fantastic power rusher, but in an evolving NFL, having minimal athleticism and ways of attack could make Wilson a boom or bust prospect. By any quick and strong lineman, he will be shut down. Wilson is still a great prospect though, as I am giving him an A grade, placing him in the mid to first round. At number 3, I have Notre Dame elusive pass rusher Isaiah Foskey. Scouting Foskey as an edge rusher, I would place him more towards the middle of the pack, likely at 6 behind Ojulari, but as a defender, Foskey shows versatility and can threaten an offense at multiple levels. In 4 seasons, Foskey put up 25 sacks and 28 tackles for loss, which are great numbers in themselves. As I mentioned, Foskey is a fantastic all-around defender as he doesn't always stick to the edge. He can fit very well in a defensive scheme that loves to move around defenders and sometimes trick offenses. For example, an offense that run plays like an edge rusher starting on the edge but staying patient and rushing on the inside after the snap. That's where Foskey would fit best. Off the edge, though, he is still very explosive all throughout the play, especially on his first step. He continued to be more productive and disruptive as seasons went by at Notre Dame, so expect Foskey to be a long-term defender for whichever team picks up on his potential. Foskey does have one lingering issue, though, and that is his lack of moving versatility. Yeah, he can be placed wherever or put on a deceptive play, but once he comes off the line, he lacks a consistent variety of effective moves, which can kill his ability once he arrives to the NFL. His containment off the edge also lacks, especially in the run, but he has significantly improved on that, and it could be easily fixed in the right professional scheme. As a prospect, Foskey receives an A prospect grade, being a mid-first-round pick. The Green Bay Packers seem in a great position to land him later on. At number 2, right behind a clear and obvious number 1, I have Clemson defensive end Myles Murphy. A key part of Clemson's successes this season was the great defensive line held behind both Murphy and Brian Bresee, but Murphy was the more dominant figure in 2022, putting up 6.5 sacks on 586 snaps, along with 11 tackles for loss and 34 pressures. Murphy is another dual-threat edge rusher who has continued to stay consistent in his 3 years at Clemson. In those years, Murphy has shown an intimidating skill set, having a massive 6'5", 275 frame, being extremely strong, and still being a great athlete, almost like another Myles that I know. Murphy has stayed consistent as he was an early impact player, but that doesn't mean he didn't develop. His statistics stayed around the same, but his skill set grew, especially as an athlete throughout the seasons. Murphy also has a great spin move, and he'll be a human highlight reel in the league. Murphy is the first of these final 2 prospects where I can say he has no alarming negatives. He does have some minor issues, like some predictability issues and sometimes a lack of elusiveness, but he still gets the job done around the edge. Murphy gets an A+ prospect grade from me, as he should be drafted within the top 5, if not top 8 of the NFL draft. The obvious number 1 edge rusher and the number 1 prospect on my big board is none other than Alabama edge Will Anderson Jr., the back-to-back Nagurski Award winner. Holy smokes, is this guy crazy. His potential has already been seen as he put up 17.5 sacks in a single season before, let alone it being his sophomore season. Anderson wasn't even a 5-star recruit on ESPN, which shocks me. Overall, Anderson has put up 200 pressures, 34.5 sacks, and 58.5 tackles for loss at Alabama, with clear-cut greatest statistics out of this entire edge group. Anderson brings so much to the table as a prospect. As a pass rusher, Anderson is athletic, elusive, and strong, giving all offensive tackles a challenge. He could be facing off against Trent Williams right now, and I wouldn't put it behind Anderson to win a few snaps and maybe even get a sack or two. He can also be utilized as an interior lineman or linebacker, punishing anybody who attempts to push the inside in the run. Anderson's combination of skill and size is ridiculous for a prospect, and this man may be the best edge prospect in a very long time. Yet, he may not be drafted first overall, which is unfortunate, but honestly, I say the Bears remain at first overall and take Anderson themselves. I would prefer him over Jalen Carter, who is another great defender. Negatives-wise, Anderson has no major ones, and a couple minors may be a tiny inconsistency in pass rush win rate and going low to speed around linemen. But there is no negative that I would be concerned about if I am in a draft slot where Anderson is still available, aka the number 1 overall pick. A+ prospect grade, number 1 on my big board, and should be the first overall pick, if not easily top 3. Any team looking to draft for the best player available is in the jackpot if they draft high. This edge rushing group is very good, and is likely the best group that we have seen in a long time. From top-heavy A+ prospects like Will Anderson Jr. and Myles Murphy, along with late-round second-team picks like B.J. Ojulari, Nolan Smith, and Felix Anudike Uzama, along with depth guys that I never mentioned today, like Zach Harrison Jr., Will McDonald, and KJ Henry. This class will be talked about for many, many years. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video on the 2023 NFL Draft Edge Rushing Group. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, and check out the links in my bio to view my website and other social media pages to see my more extensive coverage. Once again, I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys for choosing this channel as your source for sports coverage. We'll see you guys in the next one.